Today, I'm testing 5 complexion products for mature skin, not just quick first impressions. We're doing a split face application, light coverage versus built up coverage, natural light skin checks, and a wear test to see which actually looks most skin-like by the end of the day. This is also my annual spring skin tint collaboration video with Tamara at TamarasTimelessBeauty. We each tested 5 different complexion products. So between both of our videos, you're going to get 10 reviews for skin tints for mature skin. I will link her video down below, so right when you're done watching mine, go check hers out. Everything I'm testing and sharing with you today can be found in 3 places: in my pinned comment, in the description box, and in YouTube Shopping, which is right below this video. For me, the goal of a skin tint isn't perfect coverage. I like my skin to peek through. I like that natural glow. We've worked really hard on our skincare, and I want that to show. I think if you're using product a little bit too heavily, especially on mature skin, you start getting that very heavy look and it just doesn't look natural. So my goal here today in using these skin tints and testing them for you is to help you find a skin tint that looks natural and beautiful on mature skin. First up, we have the Armani Longwear and Care Skin Tint. Now this is marketed as a skin-focused skin tint. It has hyaluronic acid, it has niacinamide, and it's designed to go on with a radiant silky finish. So let's see how it looks on my mature skin. One thing I immediately noticed when I put this on is that it contains alcohol denat. I could smell it right away, and a light fragrance. These ingredients are typical deal breakers for me when it comes to skin tints, but I was pleasantly surprised that the fragrance dissipated in 10 minutes at the most, and my husband didn't even notice it, and he is very, very sensitive. The other thing that I noticed is the applicator. For a higher end product, I expected this to be a little bit more on the sturdy side. It got a little flimsy, but I was pleasantly surprised. It went on with a serum-like texture. It looked very skin-like and fresh when first going on. Here's one light layer compared to bare skin. You can absolutely see skin texture, but the redness and my uneven complexion are softened. This is really the amount of coverage I prefer most with skin tints. Now I'm building it slightly to see how well it handles medium coverage. Personally, I still prefer the one light layer. When I start to build it, I kind of lose that natural skin effect. By midday in natural light, you can see that it loses some of that initial glow that it had when I first applied it and settles into a soft matte finish. By the end of the day, I did start to notice there was a little bit of settling in my lines. I also noticed a few small dry patches developing, which makes me think the alcohol content might be slightly drying for drier, mature skin types. If you have oily skin types, I think you're going to love this type of coverage. And the challenge with skin tints is always balance. If you end up over moisturizing, then you get this slip and slide effect, and you don't get the skin tint to dry down with that natural look. Especially when you have SPF involved, things can turn really quickly where the makeup never really ends up setting. If you have dry, mature skin like I do, just add an extra light layer of hydration. You could use a mist right after your moisturizer and before your SPF. You could try the Merit Glow Serum, which is a perfect under makeup moisturizing prep step. Another trick that I use when I'm traveling, and this is on top of my finished makeup look, is to use a little bit of the Dr. Idriss Hyper Fade. This just gives your makeup a little touch of glow. You can apply it and tap it in right over your makeup. I have a quick mature skin makeup tip for you that's going to make all the difference in your complexion product. At the end, I go back in with a clean brush and I buff the skin lightly. Especially on mature skin, this helps remove excess product. Everything melts together more naturally and it doesn't sit on the skin like a mask. My favorite brush to use for this technique is the BK Beauty 107 brush. It's one of the easiest ways to keep complexion products looking more skin-like instead of makeup-like. This is Lancôme's Skin Idole 3 Serum Super Tint. Say that 3 times. It's supposed to be breathable, lightweight, and flexible. The call-out ingredients are niacinamide, vitamin E, and hyaluronic acid. Now, the brand calls out that if you don't like the feeling of your complexion product sitting heavily on the skin, that this ultra lightweight skin tint may appeal to you. Now, for me personally, the Lancôme Skin Tint initially applied beautifully, gave me a very light serum-like finish. With one layer, it gives a very soft kind of evening effect on my skin and still looked incredibly lightweight. However, the formula didn't really build all that well for me. I started noticing a little bit of balling and pilling once I tried to build it, but I was able to buff it out with my round brush and it looked pretty good by the time I built the coverage to medium lightweight coverage. Here's how it looks in natural lighting. Still pretty glowy and pretty. But unfortunately, by the end of the day, this one was probably one of the weaker performers. It emphasized the texture more over time, didn't really wear beautifully on my mature skin. You can see it balling up in my temple area, and in other areas, it just looks heavy. This is one where I actually preferred the first thin layer far more than any attempt at a medium coverage. Next up is the Sheer Tint Balm that everybody is talking about. You know I had to try it. I have been intentionally staying away from the reviews so I could form my own unbiased opinion. When I first opened it up, I was like, I am not gonna like this because it looked way too pigmented for my preference. Let's take a look at the skincare ingredients and how it applied on my mature skin. It contains skin-focused ingredients like hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, squalane, peptides, vitamin E, so it's really positioned as a good skincare meets complexion product. The brand says that if your skin leans dry and textured and dehydrated, or you struggle with makeup emphasizing lines, this is the type of balm texture that can be incredibly forgiving for mature skin. The application leans more nourishing and balm-like than I anticipated versus a traditional liquid skin tint. One layer gave me beautiful glow. I was really shocked that it went on this lightly. Because the IT Cosmetic Balm is so densely pigmented, I tried applying it with a brush. I also dispensed some with a spatula and applied it with my fingers. By the end of each application and using the round brush to kind of buff it down, I honestly couldn't tell the difference between using a brush and using my fingers. This was probably the easiest formula for me to build without getting things overly makeup-like. Even with more coverage, it still maintained a very skin-like finish. Here's how the IT Cosmetic looked in natural light. I was so pleased because even with the buildable coverage, it still looked so natural. By midday, this looked just as beautiful as it did during my application in the morning. And even medium coverage had no creasing, no lines. That's really rare for my skin, especially around the temple area and the eye area where I tend to crease. It stayed fresh and hydrated and skin-like and comfortable all day long. So I was impressed with the wear of this skin tint for how light it went on. I wasn't expecting it to last throughout the day. The Hourglass Illusions Luminous Glow. Now, this is technically marketed as a foundation, but when I did my review a few months ago, I actually found that it applied more like a skin tint. And if you want a more in-depth review of this product, I'll link my video above. But the reason I wanted to include it again in the skin tint video, not only because I felt it really applies more like a skin tint on my mature skin, is I found a better shade match. You'll notice it in that video, or if you remember in that video, if you've already watched it, that I was struggling with a shade match. And since then, I've found a better one. And ironically, it's number 6, which is slightly warmer. I think my skin is just leaning a little bit warmer this year for some reason. So I wanted to give the skin tint another go. Hourglass suggests if you're looking for a complexion product that is elegant, refined, and polished and just gives a subtle radiant glow, the Illusions Luminous Glow is the foundation product you should check out. And I absolutely 100% agree. With one layer, it gives very polished skin while still allowing my real skin texture to peek through. And it handled additional coverage really well while staying just elegant and light on the skin. As you can see in natural light, it still looks beautiful. At the end of the day, I did have minimal creasing around the nasolabial folds. And overall, the wear throughout the day stayed very elegant, natural looking. It held on to that soft glow finish without becoming overly greasy or overly drying out. So, a very refined look on my mature skin. This is Kylie Cosmetics Skin Tint Blurring Elixir, and I am in 2.5N. It took me forever to find a shade match with this. I went into Ulta, they shade matched me. It was completely off. I went back and I just spent some time in store messing around with all the different shades, and I finally found the match, which is the 25N. Honestly, I was really skeptical that the Kylie skin tint was going to work on my very dry, mature skin, but the associate assured me that I would be pleasantly surprised. So let's see how it does throughout the day and how it builds. The formula contains hydrating ingredients like hyaluronic acid and is designed to give blurred, perfected skin finish. One layer gave a smoothing and blurring effect. This one built reasonably well. I wasn't really all that surprised because it's very thin, but I still prefer probably the one lighter layer. Let's take a look at this in natural light. I really actually like it. It's not quite as hydrating and luminous as I prefer, but it still looks really good. By the end of the day, I did notice some settling into lines, although it's not terrible. And the coverage honestly held up reasonably well overall. Now let's take a look at all 5 complexion products side by side so you can take a look at coverage, finish, glow, texture, and which one you think gives the most natural look for mature skin. Now, before I share my ranking, tell me down in the comments which one you think looked best on my mature skin. Coming in first was the IT Cosmetic Balm. Honestly, this was a huge surprise for me. Coming in second, Hourglass, not a surprise at all. I've always loved the Hourglass complexion products. Now, Armani coming in third was a pleasant surprise given the fact that there's alcohol denat and a slight fragrance. I'm really surprised I liked it as much as I did. The Kylie just wasn't illuminating as much as I need for my mature skin, and the tint Idole honestly just didn't hold up throughout the day. My final takeaway is that skin tints are still my preferred complexion product. I just love the way they have a more natural look for mature skin. And of course, if you feel like you've got a little bit too much product on, don't forget my round brush tip just to buff off some of the excess product so your beautiful skin can shine through. We're all working so hard on our skincare that we want to let it show. I was actually shocked that the IT Cosmetics Sheer Tint Balm ended up being my favorite. And now I'm getting curious about trying more balm type complexion products. I've seen a lot of showdown videos out there. I haven't really watched them yet, but I'm kind of curious now and would like to know down in the comments if you'd like me to do a Battle of the Balms video. Let me know. And if you have a complexion product that you're absolutely loving right now, leave it down in the comments. I love to hear what you're loving. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, go watch Tamara's video next and see what she thinks about the skin tints that she tried this week.